history indeed repeats itself. African Americans have gone through so much abuse for many decades. In fact, about 200 years ago in the United States, slavery actually made people with a different skin color other than white an object and not an actual breathing human being. Yet today, in the 21st century, African Americans are still on the street receiving that same abuse on a daily basis. And Titus Kaphar wants to express what he sees on the street into his art. Hi, my name is Natalie Hinau, and I'll be talking about who Titus is. Then I'll be talking about the Tropical Space series. Lastly, I'll be talking about the Drone Project. Let me begin with telling you a little background about Titus. According to the New York Times, he was actually born in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1976. Although he didn't really find his passion for art until his mid-20s. In that same period of time, he found his lifelong partner named Julianne, and they both shared two beautiful boys. Now I want to talk about who he is as an artist. He did a lot more than just paint. He gave you an understanding of history that's been kept away from us for years. According to the Yale University Art Gallery in 2015, he has a piece called Yet Another Fight for Remembrance. And in this painting, you see African Americans in the middle of a protest with their hands up high. That white painting that you see actually represents the disappearance of each individual. This painting is about police brutality, which is why they're in the hands up, don't shoot position. And Titus' message is, just because some people may not talk about it does not mean that it's not happening today or tomorrow. Titus actually has a speechless sculpture called The Language of the Forgotten in the Museum of Modern Art in 2017. This sculpture, as you can see, has the face of Thomas Jefferson, and in the middle you see a lady. This lady is named Sally Hemings, and she was a slave. Some may say that she actually had Jefferson's children, which was not allowed. I believe that Titus made this sculpture to give her name a shining light and to give women an opportunity to come back to life who had that same situation as Sally. Now I want to talk about the Tropical Space series. This series is focused on the Black loss and visibility. The main image that you see in each picture in the series is an African American mother holding their child, but their child is cut off. It represents racism that's happening today and the young Black lives that we are losing every single day, such as Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and so many more. And in this series, there's a piece called The Braiding Possibility. This piece, you see a mother braiding their child's hair. And on the other side, you see that same image, although the child is not there anymore. Titus said, and I quote, "Once you make something and you bring it out to the world, you have no control over it." And I believe he's talking about having children. Once you have a child and you bring it out to the world, you have no control over someone else's actions. Lastly, I want to talk about a piece that's really, really personal to Titus, called the Drone Project. And this project is actually about his father. One day, Titus decided to look up his father's name called Jerome Kaphar. And when he did that, he found hundreds of men with that same name incarcerated. And in this project, you see 5 different drones with 5 different men. It's painted in gold leaf, which represents power. Although he dipped it in tart, and in that tart represents how long they've been incarcerated. Although he believed that he had to give another step. What he did, he decided to get each drone and drop it into tart and cover their mouths. He covered their mouths because it gave a representative of how silent they were and how the criminal justice actually ripped the rights away from them. In conclusion, I talked about who Titus is, the Tropical Space series. Lastly, I talked about the Drone Project. I also mentioned how Titus was able to create art that reframed history but didn't rewrite it. And that abuse that happened years ago and still happening today is not okay at all. And I believe that we should be that change that the world needs right now. Because Black lives matter today, tomorrow, and forever. Thank you for listening.